Around part of the US official has said that the US embassy in Riyadh that was struck by a drone. And US embassy in Riyadh has now asked Americans rather to take shelter. The US embassy in Riyadh has now issued a security alert recommending American citizens in Saudi Arabia to take shelter immediately. And as far as also limiting non-essential travel to any military installation in the region, saying that in a statement that has been also posted on X, that has now been talking about as far as when it comes to anything which is related to the US, when it comes to military installations, when it comes to diplomatic targets or diplomatic institutes as well, that are now been on the target list of Iran. And that seems to be the statement that has now come in from the US embassy there in Riyadh, where they have now urged the American citizens to immediately take shelter, and they are monitoring the situation as far as the regional situation is concerned in Saudi Arabia, as the US citizens, the travelers, have been advised to review when it comes to the security alerts and to review any travel plans in case of disruptions and to make appropriate decisions to keep themselves and their families safe. Because it seems that the US advisory to several Gulf nations that has now gone up, especially to the American citizens, where they have been asked to immediately depart. Well, that seems to be, Shinjoy, this kind of warnings or advisories came in for particular nations. But as far as this regional conflict that has now escalated, see, even to Saudi, now US embassy and the people there, the American citizens, have been asked to take cover.
First of all, it wasn't expected that the Iranians would strike places in Saudi Arabia, but they have. First, it was a refinery. Now it's the US embassy in Riyadh. There were explosions in Riyadh even before that. So very clearly, Saudi Arabia, Americans in Saudi Arabia, particularly the embassy, is not an entirely safe place. So the Americans are making it very clear that if you are American, if you are a civilian, if you don't have to be in the area, it's better that you leave. That's a clear message that the US government is sending, because the war has widened. It is no longer Iran, Israel, America. It is also Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, lots of places, Iraq. So as a result, the war has widened. There are targets everywhere for the Iranians, because there are many, many American bases there in all these areas, like Kuwait and Bahrain and Qatar and so on. So if you are going to strike at an American base in, let's say Bahrain, then it's entirely possible that one or two of these missiles will be ill-directed and they will hit a civilian target.
Yes.
Naturally, therefore, the ordinary people, civilians, will be in danger. So all these issues are there, and this is something that will inevitably happen if war breaks out, because war will bring the unexpected. War has always brought the unexpected. There has never been a war, or there have been very few wars in history that have gone exactly as expected. So as a result, this will too lead to all kinds of unexpected things. And these attacks on the US embassy in Riyadh, on an oil refinery in Saudi Arabia,
yes,
on a 7-star hotel in Dubai, all of these things are really part of the war. These are unexpected, but so is war.
Well, correctly said that, because nobody could have expected something like this would happen. Advisories that were previously given to the American citizens, but it was in those areas where the danger was real. However, it seems that it has now expanded to several countries in the Gulf, including to Saudi, where American nationals have been asked to take shelter immediately. Another breaking update that